I interviewed you at a New York Comic Con
Yes.
the last New York Comic Con. It was so great to see you again and like be able to sit down and talk with you again about a bunch of your roles. 'Cause I feel like you got a lot going on these days recently. I feel like, right?
I'm so lucky. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how grateful. I mean, I was thinking about this actually just today and last night. Like, I remember being in Chicago and, booking a play, and maybe getting to do, performing once in a while. Like, and when you were doing a play, sometimes it was for audiences of 5 to 25 people in a storefront theater in Chicago. And the fact that here I am in 2026 and I am getting to work as often as I have been able to, it's a miracle. It really
Yeah.
is. I'm very lucky.
Absolutely, yes. Because like there are so many actors, I feel like they look up to you. They look up to the fact that you're able to be in franchises, but also these TV shows, and then all these and play all these different types of characters. I think that's something that is so valuable for you to be able to access. I feel like, and
Thank you. I think
yeah,
it's really important for all of us, no matter if we're journalists or writers or actors, doctors, teachers, to have mentors. And if you don't have mentors, also to have like heroes, people that you look at and you go, "Oh wow, the way that they did their career, the way that they worked is so intriguing and fascinating to me." And I really looked at and studied the way that like journeyman actors, Steve Buscemi and John Cazale and John Turturro and Christopher Walken and Margot Martindale and all these people who I just think were always willing to go disappear into the role, and whether it was on stage or on film or on TV, if it was comedy, if it was drama, if it was genre, um, it's a space that I felt like, what a dream,
yeah, absolutely. And so, who were some of those mentors for you? Like that I really helped you in your journey.
So when I was in the theater, I had a number of mentors. I had an incredible teacher when I was in college named Joe Slowick, and he had studied at the Polish Lab Theater under Jerzy Grotowski back in the 1960s. And he had this very monastic, almost samurai-like approach to acting. And the dedication was something that I loved. And he taught me to take my work very, very seriously, but to never take myself too seriously so
Mhm.
that I could remain playful as a child. But I had some incredible mentors when I was I studied at a place called the Theater School, DePaul University in Chicago, which had been the heir of the Goodman School of Drama with this great tradition. And I had so many great teachers. And then on set, I'd say the directors have been my mentors. James Gunn has been a big mentor for me. Denis Villeneuve has been a big mentor for me. And these are also my friends. So it's strange when your friends are your mentors, but learning from them and the way that they've encouraged me to push myself as an artist has always been something that I hold a lot of gratitude for. I've only gotten to make 2 films with him, but I look at Christopher Nolan as somebody who I just admire and learn from, and his respect for story and detail is something that I took a lot from. And then in my personal life, oh my gosh, I don't know. I look at a human being. Now I have no aspirational um, delusion that I'm ever going to be. It's less about the career, but it's definitely about the art and the human that he is. When I got the chance to work with Robert Downey Jr. on Oppenheimer, and I got to be in the presence of truly one of the most humble, gifted, talented, resilient humans I've ever come in contact with, I feel like I found a mentor and somebody that I'll always look up to for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you've been able to work with all these incredible directors, incredible actors, and you've had this acting career behind you. I mean, have you ever like, thought about like maybe branching out into directing and like, doing more on that side as well?
So that side of the storytelling journey is so exciting for me, and I really get excited about it from a producerial standpoint. So I've launched this company a few years ago called Good Fiend. Good Fiend Films was a co-producer of Late Night with the Devil. We recently wrapped the films The Shepherd. We did a film called Kodak Super XX, which just wrapped, starring Kelly Marie Tran with this incredible new director named Auden Bowie. But under the umbrella of Good Fiend, I feel like I'm getting an opportunity to cultivate a network of artists and storytellers where we can bring to life genre stories in all of its different forms, and not just in movies. We've also got several TV projects that are cooking with gas, a number of publishing projects. My book Through just came out. We talked a little bit about that last fall in New York. And then this summer, I have two new comics coming, The Accessories and Kingdom of Earth, which I co-create with my longtime creative partner, Leah Kilpatrick. And I have a number of other things under the Good Fiend banner. So the only time I've put on the director's hat yet, and it was an exceptionally positive experience, I directed one short segment called Yeti or Not, which I also acted in. And it was part of the Boulet Brothers Holiday of Horrors special for Shudder this past winter. And I don't know if I'm going to get back in the director's chair, but I certainly feel tempted. But I really love writing. I love producing. I love creating opportunities for stories to be told by artists who have a point of view and care about character and narrative and the tradition of storytelling, and who are excited about doing it through genre. Because I love thrillers, science fiction, horror, superhero stories, fantasy. I think it's such a special place.
Oh yeah, I love all those things too. And and you bring up like a Late Night with the Devil. I mean, that was one of my favorite horror movies of I think the last like couple
Oh,
of
thank
years. Like
you.
yeah, and you got to take center stage in that, and I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. Yeah, and that was a good
Yeah,
one.
I've just
Yeah.
been so lucky, Jonathan. It's crazy. Like Late Night with the Devil, just in this industry, if you're an actor like me or any creative who came to Hollywood with no personal connections, no family connections, no business connections, all you have is your reputation, your relationships, and the luck of the roulette wheel, and you try and spin it as many times as possible. And luckily for me, I had gotten to know Roy Lee over the years, who's a phenomenal producer. Roy and his business partner, Steven Schneider, who are friends of mine, they were producing Late Night with the Devil, and my name came up. They sent over the script because Colin and Cameron, who were writing and directing it, wanted to talk to me about it. I mean, so like a role like that in a film like that, it's a gift that just keeps giving, And
Absolutely.
TV, it's interesting because I was like, well, what's going to happen? I never really I tried, and I'd go on I've been on 10,000 auditions in my career, and it's like I don't know how many one line roles on a TV show, or one scene role on a TV show, and I couldn't book. And now it's like I'm really getting to play some juicy roles. Getting to do Mr. 3 on One Piece was one of the juiciest, most fun roles I've ever gotten to do in that like space, especially an adaptation of the greatest manga probably ever written, which is a huge book in our house. And then to get to be a part of the resurrection of Dexter Morgan, like to go into play in that space, dude, it's crazy.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, like, come on. Like, speaking of like Gemini Killer, I mean, I wonder about, like these characters like that, these sort of like dark characters. I mean, what is it like to like, is it interesting to like make them scary, make them human? Where do you find that balance?
I think it's much more interesting to make them human, because when you can make them human, then that's really scary. It's really scary for us to look at characters and see reflections of things that we recognize rather than things that we've never seen before. I do think that fear of the unknown, fear of the mysterious is one thing we can always play with when it comes to thrillers and horror. But in the world of Dexter, it's this acting out of all these parts of ourselves that live like most of us, do our best, obviously, to have a fully functioning society, allowing those parts of ourselves that are crying out for the most extreme, forms of anger, vengeance, violence. Those parts of ourselves are deeply buried within the like healthy conscience. But there are these beings moving out about us in our society where that part of themselves is just so much closer to the surface. And I think it's really scary to sit and ponder, like, how many pushes would it take for me to get pushed to the edge of that kind of insanity? And so if I go into playing a role like Gemini with the intention of just scaring people, I don't think it's going to work. I think what works is getting in there and having them see the fear, insecurity, the vulnerability that they're experiencing while being pushed to the edge of homicidal, psychopathy. And with Gemini, it was twice as much fun because I was playing two fully realized human beings, and getting the chance to do that was a gift that Scott and Clive gave me when they asked if I would come and join the party, and I'm so glad I said yes. I will be honest, I initially did not think I could do it, or I was in a place where I was not in a great place, and I needed to catch up on rest, and I was feeling really mentally strained, and I looked at the challenge of trying to create two characters, and with all that they were going to pull off during that season of Resurrection, I was like, I don't know if I can go there. And thank God I did, because it ended up being such a beautiful journey.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, it's so great to the fact that you were able to play this character. And I mean, speaking of villains, I mean, I think we got a pretty good one coming up in Street Fighter, because I was just at CinemaCon, and the whole presentation and everything was so cool. And I'm still so excited to see what you're going to be doing with Bison. I mean, what's your entry point? I'm wondering into a character.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing that I just told you. I mean, you're going to become this character who exists in video game lore and mythology in a way that is so important to so many millions of fans and people. And you can look at the game and you can see how he stands, how he talks, how he presents. But that's Bison in full-fledged fighting form, ready for the showdown. What's interesting about our film is it presents the journey of Bison trying to get to that place. And he needs to get to that place because he's now the leader of a movement that means something to so many of his followers. And I took a huge deep dive when Kitao gave me the opportunity of being a part of his film. I took this huge deep dive with Kitao into all these books and all this learning about cult leaders and people who have organized large movements around them, especially movements that involved non-traditional, shall we say, belief systems. Because sure, you can say, oh, he's the leader of a big criminal organization and he's this big badass and he just likes to mess people up. I think that's boring. And at the end of the day, I think audiences would find that boring. You get tired of seeing this badass villain who just sits there and has hundreds of people willing to throw themselves into the line of fire in his name. I wanted to create and justify why the people surrounding me, what Shadaloo actually meant, why they care so much about this, and why I need to host a World Warrior tournament. Like, that's very big stuff, like to bring the best warriors from all over the world together for this fight. Is it really just for publicity and money, or just to prove that I've got, the biggest, baddest power? And in this film, I don't. Imagine, we see it in everyday life. You see it in our reality right now, where there are people who have all kinds of power, but they can't really back it up. They can't really like handle the power. And it's kind of terrifying. And I wanted to demonstrate that we see that with these cults of personality who've sprung up over history. And I wanted to bring that to the role. As you can hear me talking about this, I'm sure you're like, this guy's crazy, but I don't care if it's a manga adaptation, if it's a video game adaptation, if it's a comic book adaptation, if it's a horror movie, if it's an indie drama about relationships. To me, story is story is story is story. And I take this work as seriously if I'm doing, 12th Night, 12 Angry Men, or 12 Aliens in the Swamp. I love the work.
Oh, trust me. No, I don't think any of that's crazy. And if anything, I respect it more because that's the magic of, acting. That's what you're doing here. And you're bringing so much humanity, I feel like, to a lot of, these roles. And you're doing so many different types of projects. And I think that's what makes audiences keep connecting with you, and like every I don't know, I don't know who said it. It might have just been me, but it was just like whenever we see you in something, we know that something's going to be special, something's going to be yeah. But yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have any more questions for me?
No, I think I'm all right. I looking forward to speaking with you again in the near future, whether that's soon or down the line.
I plan to try and be at San Diego this summer, so hopefully, if you're there, we can chat.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, man, I'm so excited to see more of your work, and also, I mean, like to see what you do with Bison. It's going to be great, man. I'm so excited. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, dude. It's great to see you. Have a beautiful day.
Yes. Have an amazing rest of your day as well. All right.
Bye, Jonathan.
Peace.